Kagurabachi.
All right, gang. It's time. So the chapter picks up where we left off last week, where Kuguri finally gave in to his sword fighting boner and is now fighting Chihiro. As they're fighting, Ro is kind of like, all right, Samura's daughter is safe for now, and now it's time for the rest of us. And he kind of he pulls out a pen and he signals to Chihiro for him to buy him time. And Chihiro does the white purity style once again, but it looks like it gets interrupted by Kuguri, who takes note of his stance and essentially is like, he's kind of like, yo, that's not some regular shit. That's some shit that only Uruha and Samura could do. You must have been trained by them. And Chihiro's kind of like, nah, I'm winging this shit. And Kuguri is kind of shocked to hear that. He describes the EI white purity style as an esoteric EI technique. Esoteric meaning only a very small amount of people can use it. And the reason why is, like, the idea of the style of this technique is very simple, but it requires an extremely special type of movement, and it's very hard to learn. And ever since it was first invented, like by the original swordsman, Shirikai, only two people have been able to use this technique, and that's Uruha and Samura. And Kuguri continues to say that technique is legit on the brink of extinction. And it's a legendary art. He is actually insanely baffled by the fact that if he never had a trainer, how the fuck did he learn to do it? And we get a flashback to Chihiro doing it back then when he was a kid. Like in the earlier flashback within this arc, Samura was showing him how to cut with a blade. And Chihiro was able to mimic him by only seeing him once. And Shiba describes that it's Rokuhira's eye that he inherited from his father.
The Sharingan.
Sword Sharingan. So he goes on to explain that a master swordsmith can gauge the steel's changing temperature and condition just by watching and molding the blade. But Chihiro's dad, Kunishige, was the top of the line swordsmith. And because of that eye, he was able to create these swords using the Dantenseki, this extremely difficult material that nobody could ever like forge blades out of reliably and not have it like explode them. He, using this special eye, he was able to draw out the power and stabilize these blades, and that's why the enchanted blades exist. But Chihiro inherited this eye, and he's now using it to apply it to combat as well. And it turns out that he learned this extremely rare and very, very difficult stance just by pure imitation. And just as Kuguri's kind of starting to come to accepting that this is reality, Ro calls out to Chihiro, and it looks like he has a little teleporting sigil on the ground, and they poof away into smoke. which Kuguri is not very happy about. He comes back to his partner and
Who
breaks
is
the
totally
news that
real.
who is very real and everybody can see her. And tells her that she got away. And we cut to the Kyoto Bloodshed Hotel, which this is a pretty fucking sick panel here, even though it's only like legit like half a page spread. No, half a page, but it's like really cool design. Especially with the owl eye in the air. And we're introduced to the general manager of the Bloodshed Hotel, Yojiro Sengoku, which is kind of, I get like a John Wick kind of vibe here, where it's like a dude who is clearly running a shady business.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very much the Continental from John Wick.
Yeah. So the Masumi, like Sumi and Samura's daughter get there, and Sengoku kind of gives them like reassurance that like there's no fucking around allowed inside of this hotel, so they'll be safe here. But we cut back to them and everybody's in the room with them. You got the Masumi, you got Chihiro's there, and alongside Samura's daughter. The Masumi introduced their names. There's Ro, Moku, and Sumi. And Samura's daughter actually recognizes Chihiro as the Kabuki show like murderer. Mini Masumi Man tries to back him up, and he's kind of just like, nah, he's not really a killer. He's like you. He likes to put other people in front of him. But Chihiro instead said, nah. Actually, there's not a misunderstanding. I am a fucking killer. I am a killer, and I'm gonna keep killing. And then Moku. Oh, you're muted, Josh.
Oh, fuck the whole vibe up. Like
Chihiro, you're scaring the hose.
Yeah, for real.
like, dog, what is wrong with you? Relax.
Moku comes over. He's just like, yo, dog,
buddy.
Just let us
Try to be your wingman,
bro. Let us hook you up here, bro. But Chihiro, in very Chihiro fashion, he says, but in spite of being a killer, no, because I'm being a killer, I'll ensure your safety. And now we cut to another mini flashback where Mini Masumi Man and Chihiro are talking about her whole situation of her starting to remember Samura and the ramifications for it. And that basically it would take like 24 hours for the seal to be reaffirmed. But Samura's daughter wants to kind of understand what's happening with her and the memories that have been locked away from her. And they break the news that they manipulated her memories so that they basically say that they manipulated her memories and that her body is trying to remember it. And that if this seal were to break, there would be all kinds of people who would be coming after her to get on Samura's bad side. And they're trying to convince her to forget, but she just can't seem to want to forget about somebody who was holding her hand. Which strikes a chord for Chihiro because of the connection that he had with his father. He thinks back to he thinks about how different his life would have been if he didn't live with his dad. But regardless of that, he would never trade the time that he spent with his father for anything. So he instead allows Samura's daughter to have the chance to find out about her father, and he's going to leave it up to her to decide within 24 hours whether she wants to forget the memories, and whether she makes the decision or not. Chihiro promises her safety, and that's where the chapter ends. Josh, what are your thoughts?
Quite the transitional chapter. There's a lot in this, and this is one of the. I wish I would have like gave this like a second read before, but I think Chihiro is putting a lot on his shoulders yet again to try to master this new style within 24 hours. And it's like I don't know, like maybe I'm being too harsh, but it's almost like he's forcing this girl into a situation to kind of force him to like be strong, get strong enough in order to meet like those needs if she decides that she wants to, keep her memories and deal with the, Hishaku and Kamanabi coming after her or whatever. So, yeah, Jiro, he's an intense guy. What else stood out? I'll say this though. I think it was really nice how he thought about it himself, that like, man, like I'm in a really shitty situation because of who my father was and how like I was raised and a part of, but he still cherishes that. So I think he feels like her and most other people would, and I respect him making a decision like that, honestly. He's just a little crazy with it, that's all.
Yeah.
He's he's busting out his shell a little bit more often, man.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been through a lot, so it makes sense. I'm really interested in if Samura's daughter has a future in this series, like as a combat character, frankly. But like if she'll join the team like how the sorcerer did. But he already has the Masumi, right? That's the name, the Masumi.
Yeah.
Mini Masumi.
Yeah, the Masumi.
Mini Masumi's the guy. But anyway. Yeah, we got decisions to make. Mini Masumi was pretty tame on letting Chihiro like say all of that shit, because like if the plan is really just to keep like not give her that choice and just force her to live a safe life or whatever, they would have shut Chihiro up. You know what I'm saying? But maybe I don't know if they felt like they couldn't, or if it was just a like damn, like even if we could take Chihiro, we don't really want to do that, and it's gonna look really bad in front of the girl too to see us infighting. She's probably not gonna trust us. There's I don't know. I guess there's a valid excuse for why they didn't take it more seriously, but there's no there's no reason to think that in the next chapter they're not gonna be way more like on top of that, like yo, fuck out of here.
I doubt it.
We'll see.
They are. Remember, they work for Chihiro, like, so whatever he decides, like, as is the overarching thing that's important, they're gonna follow his route. You know what I mean? Even if they don't want to do it, they're gonna have to do it anyway, because that's just how it is. They're not the bosses here. He is.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like they don't really like it, but he is the boss. And also I do feel like that the Masumi have like this kind of They're not part of the Kamunabi, so they're just like kind of they're like contractors in a sense where they're not involved with the Kamunabi, so they don't necessarily have a loyalty to them. And they've shown that they can be reasonable, you know. I feel like they agree with him in the outright. They're just like risk averse because of the odds that are against them. It's enough to have the Hishaku on their tail, but the Kamunabi is also an issue. And I think that's where the hesitation comes from. But yeah. I'm sorry, Josh, were those all your thoughts, by the way?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I don't have much more to say.
Yeah, this was probably my second place chapter. I think this is just Chihiro's been developing a lot over the course of the last few chapters, and I'm enjoying to see him how, like Josh said, he is coming out of his shell a little bit, and he's taking on more responsibility. Where you can argue it's a bad thing, but I think it's important that Chihiro has like an actual direction. That, you know, it's not like he's just taking on the responsibility because he just out of a feeling of guilt or a feeling of obligation, but it is just a motivating factor he is pushing upon himself so that he does get better at this very the fundamentals of swordsmanship. And I think that's like a little different from the way he takes on a lot of responsibility before, where it was more out of a sense of duty and a sense of responsibility or guilt. So it's a more proactive sense. And you could maybe still call this self-destructive, but I guess we'll have to see I feel like, I guess it's at least a very more positive motivating factor than what he's been using to this point. So I like this. I think it's interesting, and it's very within Chihiro's character to think of the more pragmatic and more, I guess, moral way to go, being not a member of the Kabunabi as well. And, you know, I think like there's something to him relating to the Samura girl, because, you know, this is a woman who doesn't have any memories of her father, and, you know, even though that Chihiro's life turned out completely fucked as a result of having such a tight relationship with his father, he wouldn't trade it for anything, and he's putting himself in those shoes of like, he would be miserable if he was forced to forget his dad. So I think it's like kind of a really heartwarming sentiment at the very least that they can connect on. As far as Ieri, I think her name is, I'm sorry, I forget her first name, but Samura girl's potential for combat, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, she is Samura's daughter. There's probably some magic sorcerer potential there. There's a possibility that she ends up with a Tobi Maru. Sorry.
His sword?
Yeah.
Like the father's, yeah. That would be sick.
So, yeah. But, you know, Kagurabachi's great. Great.
The moment that seal breaks, all hell is going to break loose, though, for sure.
Which seal? Oh, yeah. We'll see. But those are all my thoughts. Brian, what did you think?
This was a really, really good chapter. I feel like you guys kind of hit the nail on the head on a lot of things. But again, man, the character writing is just so fucking good, especially for like, these are kind of complex themes for like a shonen protagonist to kind of be covering. Chihiro's sense of morality and his like the way that he processes his emotions and his traumas and the things that he's done is very unique for a jump protagonist. You know, a lot of them are kind of like they always do they always do things and they're okay with the things that they do for the most part. most of like Jump protagonists would kill, and then they'd be like, all right, let's keep on going because I'm gonna be the Wizard King or some shit like that, right? Like even like Sakamoto, who was an assassin before, he doesn't kill anymore, but he doesn't like have like moral quandaries about it, even though it's not really the series for that, right? But it just goes to show like Kagurabachi is like, it just keeps building its own path for itself within this publication, you know, like it's very, very mature themes, and I'm very impressed with every chapter that comes out. I say this every week, but yeah, those are my thoughts.
Hell yeah. Well, that was Cogs.